right, welcome. It's time for us to get on the desk and look at silent issues making the rounds in Nigeria and across the globe. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to today's edition of the program, The Desk. On today's edition, it promises to be very as we look at issues from the global perspective. We'll be taking you to East Africa, where they've got tragedy in Uganda, where the bodies of two 3-year-old boys were among those pulled from the mud in eastern Uganda, swelling to 28, the death toll from a landslide last week that buried several villages. Police said with dozens still unaccounted for. More than 100 people had been feared missing, with 17 dead after Wednesday's landslide on the slopes of Mount Elgon, an extinct volcano on the border with Kenya, about 300 kilometers east of the capital, Kampala. That's how I make you welcome to today's edition, and we'll be looking at other issues making rounds from Uganda. We'll be bringing you back home to South Africa, from the east to the southern part of Africa, where the good news is that President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced that tourists from Nigeria can now apply for a visa without submitting a passport. Ramaphosa spoke on Tuesday after the opening of the 11th session of the Nigerian South Africa Binational Commission in Cape Town, which President Bola Tinubu attended. He said South Africa had simplified its visa processes to facilitate travel for Nigerian business people and tourists, with measures such as 5-year multiple entry visas. That must be good news to the ears of Nigerian businessmen and tourists. So we'll be looking at that issue closely. And then we'll also be taking closer to other issues as regards the debate that is refusing to go. We're talking about the tax reforms, where following the controversy trailing the tax reform bills, President Bola Tinubu has directed the Ministry of Justice to work closely with the National Assembly to address the concerns raised by Nigerians. So we'll be looking at this and other issues, especially the issue that has to do with the Niger Delta, talking about struggle for resource control. Whenever you hear resource control and you talk about Niger Delta and oil producing communities, the first group of ethnic groups you hear is the Ijaw ethnic nationality. About this to say there are more than the Ijaws in the Niger Delta region, and especially for a community or a clan or a group of ethnic group that has contributed its own fair quota to Nigeria's resource in terms of production of oil. We have the Isoko community, the Ijaw people, and we'll be looking at this closely on today's edition to see how well they have been represented and if they've been marginalized by other groups that seem to be dominant. That's how we'll be looking at these and other issues on today's edition. My guest on today's edition is no other person but the governor. They recently commissioned, or he is the governor of the Isoko Development Union, the youth wing. He is the governor, Honorable Olude Batlomi, who is in the live studios to help us look at this issue of resource control. First of all, I want to say congratulations. You're the first, I would say, the first governor of the youth wing. Yes. Okay. All right, let's look at the issue of resource control. Every time we hear resource control, we talk about the Niger Delta. The first and the most very recognizable group is the Ijaw Youth Council, the Ijaw people. They seem to be domineering. You have the Shekiris, the Urobos. Why do you think the Isokos have not had their fair share of recognition?
Well, thank you very much for having me today. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Niger Delta region, once you talk about oil production, everybody would think it's all about the Ijaws and the Urobo and the Shekiri. But Isoko is one of the rich oil producing community. After oil was discovered in Olubiri in that 1959, the next place oil was discovered in large quantity, commercial quantity, was Uziri. And
that's the center point of Isoko.
Yes, and that is Uziri. And as I speak to you now, in Uziri we have a fuel station. Even in Ole and Olomoro we also have a fuel station. So oil is produced in large quantity in Isoko land, but we have been marginalized. Anytime when it comes to programs that are supposed to bring Isoko in, they will look at as minority, which we are not comfortable with.
Okay, let's look at, would you say it's because you do not have people at the top. That's why the Isokos have not been well represented, or the fact that the Ijos have a stronger personalities in government.
Well, not from a section, Isoko have not been nominated as a minister or top government position. And if you look at it, we are very peaceful people. We are not engaged in violence. And you know, in Nigeria, if you are not a violent person, they will not see your strength. And that is why today, with Isoko, we said, okay, let's start by agitation. If they fail to listen to our voice, if what the others are doing that is better, before they can listen to our voice.
So are you saying every time there's this unrest in the Niger Delta, when there's violence, it's usually the Ijaw youth and not the Isoko youth that are engaged in this unrest in the Niger Delta, the destruction of pipelines and other issues?
These things are not common in Isoko. You know, if you go through your news or wherever, you will not see all those use restiveness, shutting down flow station, vandalizing oil pipelines and all that. It's not common in Isoko because we believe in dialogue.
Okay, let's just recently the youth wing was inaugurated, and the president did make a very strong statement saying where the elders can't reach, he believes the youth's activism should be able to take the youths there, and also did mention the fact that other groups or some persons have been masquerading as Isoko persons and going forward to like the Amnesty Office and other government agencies to take what belongs to the Isoko people. What is the plan of the youth wing now to change the narrative?
Thank you very much. Now we are on board. All this why we don't have the youth body in Abuja, and that is why we have that. That is why we give some persons that opportunity, whereby those in the big offices can just call their boys and they will masquerade them as the Isoko youth. So whatever that's supposed to belong to Isoko will be given to them. But today that we're on board, we will not allow that to happen. Then again, if you look critically, why we the Isoko are crying, we have oil companies that are operating in our land. And I can tell you wholeheartedly that for the past 6 years, there is no electricity in Isoko. Nothing like electricity.
Why is that?
And when we clamor for electricity, my pains is that for now, Isoko is agitating for gas turbine so that the companies, the oil companies will give us a gas turbine. Today, if you look at the share, we have the heritage that is operating in Ole, and we have a flow station. The gas that is coming from that flow station is used to power the gas turbine in Focadus and Escavos.
And Escavos. Okay.
Then we that are producing it, we are in total darkness.
Wow.
Then again, if you look at the IGP, which is now Wando, right? The gas that they are flaring from the IGP station in Ole and Iri is being used to power Okpa, which is and Okpa is the one that is supplying almost 10 states.
In the Niger Delta region?
Yes, you know, almost 10, no, not only in the Niger Delta region, it's supplying almost 10 states electricity. And this Isoko that has this product does not have light. And today, we actually want the government, which is the NNPC, to direct these oil companies to give us a gas turbine so that the place will come up economically.
What has been the reaction of the Delta State government in terms of ensuring that the Isoko people get electricity and get the needed allocation in terms of employment of the youths? What has always been the stand of the Delta State government?
The stand of the Delta State government in this regard, I cannot say authoritatively that this is their position. But since we'll be clamoring for this thing, we've not had any time that the government have come, okay, Isoko people should be patient, as also time, we'll do this or do that. We've not heard a statement from them. And for the past 6 months, we'll be clamoring for light. If you go to Isoko now, the big boys you see them anytime they are walking around, you see them with power bank because there is no light anywhere. So that is the way some of them form big boys. And making the economic of the communities, the two capital cities, Ole and Ozoro, The place is, there's no nightlife, nothing that you can take home. And you know, light is a very important
tool for economic progress. But during elections, don't the people of Isoko agitate or ask those who come to seek for their vote that these are things they need, these basic amenities are needed?
Yes, you know, politicians will always give you political rhetorics when they come for election. During the campaign, they will say, we'll give you electricity, we'll give you good roads.
But Governor Sheriff come during the elections?
During the election, yes. Governor Sheriff was in Ole. It was in my community, precisely because from the last election, it was discovered that this beaver of, when this beaver machine, yes, was introduced, you discover that in most areas where you think they have that numbers of vote, they are not people. The people could not come out to vote. But in my community, Isoko, they have the people. That was why I can authoritatively tell you that our Senate, the person that won the senatorial seat, Joel Onuabo, got his major vote from Isoko.
And talking about the lawmakers from Isoko, how far and how well have they done in terms of pushing for the plight of the Isoko people at the National Assembly? Have they done enough?
Okay, for now, we are on it together. Like the senator representing Delta South Senatorial District, Honorable Joel Onuabo, is pushing it. Then Honorable Ajirogene Kodiko, who is representing Isoko Federal Constituency, is also pushing it. And the agitation is high, because without light, I don't think there will be any meaningful development.
Okay, let's look at the IOCs, the international oil companies within that region, Isoko Access. How well have they done to support the Isoko, mandate?
Well, for me, they have not done enough. If they are doing enough, we won't be, all this agitation, you will not see it. So we are using this opportunity to call upon them to do the rightful thing, because in where they operate, their offices where they operate, they have 24-hour light.
But the communities
don't. The community they operate does not have light, and they are comfortable. So I'm pleading that the federal government should direct the NNPC to tell them to do the needful, so that we will not be pushed to the wall.
Okay, let's look at the issue of protecting Nigeria's oil production, capacity per day. We know that Nigeria is struggling to hit as many millions of barrels per day as possible, but the issue of violence, vandalizing of the pipelines, oil theft, bunkering has always been a very serious issue in the Niger Delta. How would you look at it? Because we have Tom Polo accusing the Nigerian Navy of conniving with some saboteurs to steal this oil, which belongs to the country. For you, from the Isoko perspective, what's really playing out? And is the Isoko people also part of those that are working with Tom Polo? And what is the true picture of what's happening?
Thank you very much. In terms of the oil surveillance, when the federal government introduced oil surveillance, and they were given to regions that those pipelines are passing through. At the time, the one of Isoko was having issue, because they said it was hijacked by some stakeholders. But as God may have it, I think Isoko have been giving some lot of the surveillance that are already working, protecting the oil pipelines. But before then, the Isoko, in our own wisdoms, we protect government properties.
So is it true that the Nigerian Navy are the ones conniving with saboteurs to, shortchange the country, or is it Tom Polo on his own side? Because we don't know who is fooling who, or who is lying to who, if it's the Nigerian Navy or it's Tom Polo and his team.
When you talk about oil theft in Nigeria, you and I know that those are involved are the big masquerade. They are all involved, both the Nigeria Navy, even some indigene, and so many are involved in oil theft. So it's not something that you will say it is just Nigeria Navy alone. No. Even some of these multinational companies are also involved in all of that.
All right, as we begin to wrap our conversation up, what's the task before the youth wing of the Isoko Development Union as it stands? And do you think you have the capacity to battle this big fight? Because we've got also other ethnic groups who also want a fair share.
Well, we have the full capacity. One of the things we have planned to do is to collaborate with other ethnic nationality, the youth who will be getting their fair share. We'll collaborate with them, and it is also in us that we engage our youth productively. Then, in the area of honesty, you will discover that every year they give scholarship, they train people on various fields. We will also ensure that our people are involved. Whatever that is our quota, we'll ensure that it will get to us. So on this note, we'll collaborate with all the relevant agencies and federal government, state government, local government to ensure that what belongs to Isoko will come to Isoko at the appropriate time. So I think we have the capacity to do that.
In terms of the other Ijaw Youth Council and other ethnic groups who have been there before you now, do you think they're going to make it easy for the Isoko Youth Wing to succeed? And do you think this might also lead to the unrest we see in the Niger Delta?
Well, as a matter of fact, when there is collaboration with understanding, we will get our fair share, because they know that the 3I are from one senatorial district. So if they are taking our share before, and now that we're on board, they will release it to us, and I'm very sure of that.
All right, in case you're just joining us, you're watching the Desk on Global Television. We're looking at the struggle for resource control, and we're looking at achieving equality amongst the ethnic groups in the Niger Delta. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be wrapping up this discourse, as we've got in the studio the governor of the Isoko Development Youth Wing, in the person of Honorable Rude Batlomi, who is joining us in the live studios to help us look at the challenges the Isoko community is facing as regards the struggle for resource control. This will be after this break. Please stay with us. right, welcome back. You're still watching the Desk on Global Television, and I still have my guests in the studio as we look at the struggle for resource control and looking at achieving equality amongst the ethnic groups in the Niger Delta. All right, my guests is still in the studio. As we wrap up, let's look at the issue of the leaders of the Niger Delta. There's always this accusation that the international oil companies say they give subventions, monies to leaders of the different ethnic groups to try to empower their youths. But there's this accusation that these leaders, divert these funds. Do you see that playing out in this your struggle? And what's the guarantee that what has been happening in Niger Delta, the Joy Youth Council, and other regions where the monies, even the NDDC, has not been able to give the needed development that they should get based on the kind of resources that is coming to them? How do you think the Isoko Development Union Youth Wing can tackle this so that it doesn't affect them also when the funds actually start rolling in?
Well, as a matter of fact, the youth body of the IDU, or the IDU as a body, are not supposed to be into politics. But because of the little things that are coming, they have been able to connive with politicians to take the rightful belongings of the Isoko people. Now, how will I be able to put this together? Under normal circumstances, as an Isoko youth in the Desopadec, there are funds. They call them, there are funds, social funds that are supposed to go for all the youth, to empower some youth, to give them training, give them support. But because the politicians are now very involved, because you have to meet them now, that is why they have various groups. The politician will want to bring people that they will control and put them there so that they will now be sharing the money and whatever that comes for development. But I think with us coming on board, some of those things will be put to stop, because we will continue to shout, we will continue to raise up our voice when we see things going wrong. And this is what we stand for. For example, in Abuja here, if we see things like this coming from the federal government that's supposed to be to the Isoko youth, and one or two persons are trying to corner them for their personal gains, we will visit the FCC, we will visit the ICPC, so that the right thing and the right source to chase them and make sure that the thing gets down to those that are supposed to benefit from it, will get it.
All right, aside from electricity, which other basic amenities do the Isoko people really need?
In Isoko, as a local government, the presence of federal government is not there. We don't have good roads, no water, no health care. So we are crying and we are begging that they should come to our aid, so that we can have, if we have good roads, we have water, we have basic amenities. And let me just digress a little. It has even come to our notice that some of these NDDC projects and state government projects that are being brought to Isoko, the people that they are giving those contracts will just abandon them. Maybe because of political powers, they feel nothing can be done, and those projects will be abandoned. There are some projects that are already trending in the social media, like Iri Technical College. We have the health center in Enwe. We have some roads in Idezi that they have awarded some years ago that are supposed to have been completed. But to this very point, those politicians, I can't say if they have embezzled the money, or I don't know what happened to the funds, but those projects have been abandoned. And this is what we see all the time. And when you abandon projects and a new government comes, they will now bring new budgets that they will not complete. And these are the things that are hindering the development of Isoko land. So I want to also use this opportunity to beg our own people that are being given contract for the development of Isoko, that are abandoning those projects, to take our project very serious, because as we are coming on board, we are going to monitor all those things, and whatever that is happening to those projects, we'll ensure that we'll bring them to the public. If possible, take them to the right quarter where they can be forced to execute those projects.
Okay, your president of the Isoko Development Union, talking about Simon, he made a very strong point as regards the issue of sincerity and collaboration amongst the youth and the elders. How do you see that playing out?
Like what I told you.
And we also, sorry, not to cut you short, during the inauguration, we witnessed, we had Alawa Zubairu, who was a representative of the Arewa Consultative Forum, the youth arm of it, coming there. We also had other persons come. How much collaboration do you need with the Arewa, youth wing and other bodies to ensure that you achieve the mandate before you?
Like I said, one of the best ways we can actually achieve our dream is to collaborate with the right people. And over the years, you can see that the Arewa Constitutive Forum, they have been over the air. When they see anything that is not supposed to be in the right position, you see them shouting and crying out loud for the public to hear. So I believe if we collaborate with other organs of youth, we can have a roundtable discussion and tackle each of our problems. For example, the problem we face in the South is not the problem the Northerners might face. The problem the North may face might not be the problem that is peculiar in the East. So, but this collaboration, like the Joy Youth Council that was there, the Shekiri and all that, these are our people, and they are young persons with young brains. So if we can synergize, I believe we can be able to tackle so many of these things. And don't forget that one of our major problems are not just the youth alone, but they are our leaders. Our leaders want to take what belongs to the youth at every point in time. And when we go for struggle, when we go for struggle and at the end the thing is yielding fruit or success, you discover that there are children that they have sent to UK or abroad to do one or two things, will be the first people they will bring to hijack what's supposed to be for those that are struggling for it. So these are some of the things that when we have a good collaboration, we'll be able to resolve and know the right thing to do. And even if anything that is not done rightly, with our voice together, I think the government can easily listen.
Well, so let's look at the Amnesty Office, which is very pivotal for the people of the Niger Delta. How do you intend to, make your way into the Amnesty? And do you think the Amnesty Office has done enough in ensuring that all the ethnic groups in the Niger Delta benefit? Because it seems like most of the Presidential Amnesty Office, they're always, teetered towards the Ijaw people who have always been in charge. Do you think there's going to be a balance?
Well, we are already on board, and very soon we're going to visit that office. We are putting up a letter to visit the Amnesty boss, and from what I said earlier, Isoko have not benefited much from the Amnesty program because we don't actually have one strong body, and over these years the IDU youth wing has not been established in Abuja. But today we are on board. We will go there. Any formula they are using to share whatever that is due to the Niger Delta youth should be given to us. And we are not going there to fight, but by dialogue we think we will achieve whatever we want.
Okay, in terms of, we know that a lot of the Niger Delta communities are always crying about their waters being polluted and them not being able to fish and all that. Is the Isoko community, do they have such issues in terms of the exploration affecting their lands?
Yes. Like, for instance, in terms of farming, if you go to my place now,
Where is that specifically?
Uli. If you go to Uli, which is the headquarters of Isoko State local government, and Ozoro, farming is no longer lucrative because of the product, the goods. When you plant, they are not productive because the major resources that were supposed to make those things to be productive are not there because of this oil exploration. So we feel that is the major reason why farming is no longer lucrative. Then if you go to our water, sometimes if I take you to some waters now, you see oil on top of the water, and as a scientist, if you analyze it, you discover that most of those things are they damage aquatic life and they make the water undrinkable. You understand? So these things are happening to all the Niger Delta region, not just my community alone, but all the Niger Delta region. That is why we are saying that these people should put their feet on the ground and ensure that the health of the people are put into consideration as they are doing their own exploration. And they should ensure that those of us that are bearing the brunt of what they are doing should also benefit from it. That is our major call, that we should benefit from the damages they are doing.
But each time you put that before them, what has always been their excuse why they've not answered you or come to your rescue?
Well, you know, most of these things are politics. When you put them before them, they will tell you, we're doing something, we are working something, we are working on it, we are doing this. But as far as we are concerned, until something is done, we don't believe you are doing anything. So we believe if something is done, we will see it physically. Then we can also applaud them where necessary.
All right, that's how much time is going to allow us to take on this talking point. We've been talking to the governor of the Isoko Development Union Youth Wing in the person of Honorable Urede Bartholomew, who has been helping us give us a deep insight towards the challenges faced by the Isoko people, who are one of the key stakeholders in terms of the oil production in the country. And just to say the least, that they have been marginalized, but now they've come and ready to speak out so that they can be heard, and a lot of development should be coming to their communities in terms of they've got lack of electricity, which is very key for economic development of that region of the Niger Delta. I want to say thank you very much for joining me on the desk.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be looking at some of the talking points of issues playing out across the globe. We'll be taking you to South Africa and to the east part of African continent and other issues making the rounds across Nigeria. Please stay with us.